patented and is sold at pet stores.
Seriously. I have like 3 of them under my sink.
Yeah. No,
Jesse,
don't rely on nature's miracle.
Jesse says, absolutely
Put a
not.
diaper on the dog. I told you before.
He can't be trusted.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's about time Jesse, Roger's daughter, if you're wondering who that baby sound is, it's about time Jesse got a little equal time. Ellie had almost a full year of sitting on Roger's lap during the show.
It's true.
There would have been some sibling rivalry on that point if we hadn't balanced it out eventually.
Yeah, Jesse's sort of at that age where she notices things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is pretty unbalanced.
You've been reading her Instagram then.
Yeah.
All those creep snaps of Ellie that she's been posting.
I mean, when Jesse texts me, I know it's bad.
Small feet.
OMG, you won't believe what Ellie just did.
I'm so upset I'm gonna cry.
Stop talking about my Instagram.
Sorry, Raj.
No worries.
Just
Roger's
this is what childless people do.
People without kids right now. Knock yourselves out.
Yeah.
You're not hearing an echo, are you?
No, we're not hearing any echo.
No.
We're all good. Well, it's just a family Monday. Just
affair.
It's the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Family affair.
We can make it if we try.
It's a family affair. Oh, I'm gonna get flagged. It's too close to the original.
Yeah, it was so like the bot will think it's the original. It was so good.
I mean, when I was a kid, I thought it was a terrible song, but it grows into it.
Well, I'm ready to go if you guys are. Roger, tell me when a good point to start recording is, and we'll
yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go then. In 3, 2. Jonathan Gillespie has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Jonathan. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, January 14th, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from a damp area of LA, I'm Roger Chang, the show's producer.
It's just the 3 of us today, taking you through the tech news. We're going to talk about what I know is one of your favorite topics. You know who I'm talking about out there. We're talking about headphones and headphone jacks and the lack thereof a little later in the show. Also, YouTube is going to let you swipe to go to the next video in its iOS app. How exciting is that? Well, let's hear about a few other tech things you should know in our quick hits.
All right, everybody, mark down the date because January 14th, 2020, 1 year from the date of this recording, Microsoft will no longer support Windows 7. Unless you're a big company that pays for the privilege, of course. Windows 7 arrived in 2009. Microsoft extended its end date from 2015 to 2020, 7 years ago.
Makes me want to do one of those memes. Windows 7 2009, Windows 7 2019. It's just the same screenshot. Google's Project Fi mobile service now supports RCS chat. RCS adds things like read receipts, typing indicators, high-resolution media uploads to the standard used by carriers. RCS can also message over data and Wi-Fi. It has some improved chat options. If you're like, wait a minute, doesn't that already exist? Yes, the features have been available in messaging apps, particularly if you're an iPhone user. You see all these features in iMessage, but that is over Apple's network in that case, or it might be over Google's network in another case. RCS is over the carrier's network, just like SMS. Google Fi also is upgrading its roaming to LTE speeds in 33 countries. So there's another cool thing.
Apple announced that HomePod will be available in mainland China and Hong Kong starting this Friday, January 18th. It'll be available in white and space gray, like other countries. Apple also played up integration with Apple Music's New Artist of the Week feature in China, as well as curated playlists like Mandopop and Cantopop being available via HomePod in China. HomePod is already available in the US, the UK, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, and Spain. So this is the 9th.
Got to get them Chinese unit sales up, right? One way or another.
Right. This is how they win.
Phone maker Oppo is sending out media invites for an event January 16th in China with the tagline, 10 times the view, see you soon. That seems to be related to the leaks we've been seeing that Oppo plans to introduce a phone with 10 times optical zoom, which would be a first for phones. Oppo, however, previously did show off 5 times optical zoom and never released it. So we may see 10 times optical zoom. It'll be interesting to see if it actually makes it into a phone for sale.
The U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency put out a call last week for proposals to use insect brains to control robots. Yes, you heard me right. The research could create more efficient models for artificial intelligence, as well as reveal the meaning of consciousness and subjective experience. DARPA will award $1 million to the company that and feasibility map insect brains and create a proof of concept platform for more capable AI hardware.
From the people who brought you the internet.
Will someone think of the insects?
Yeah, poor insects. Finally, Huawei sales executive Wei-Xing Wang, arrested in Poland on espionage charges Friday, was fired by Huawei Saturday. Huawei said his actions have no relation to the company, and he was fired for bringing the company into disrepute. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what Facebook's doing to make you remember and use its stories function.
Man, if the email notifications weren't enough. Facebook said it plans to start testing a way to, quote, share the events you're interested in and coordinate to meet up with friends IRL, end quote, using its stories feature in the US, Brazil, and Mexico. This is both on iOS and Android versions of the mobile app. The stories will show up with event details. If friends see your story, they can mark themselves as interested or even going to the event that you've posted within the story itself. A link to the event page is built in. And then if a bunch of people want to go, a group chat in Messenger with friends who respond is included as well. It's interesting because Facebook stories, some people use it. I see Facebook stories from friends. It is nowhere near the amount that people use the stories feature in Instagram, which basically works the exact same way. And of course, Facebook owns Instagram. But I see this as Facebook trying to figure out a better way that people can use this feature that makes sense.
Yeah, I get why. It's one of those things, and I say this a lot when we're talking about Facebook features over the years. I get why Facebook wants you to do this because it'll make you use stories more. And Facebook is used, as Nick Stat from The Verge points out, it's used quite often to organize things. But it means that people have to be looking at stories. And I was going to say, I don't know anybody who uses stories, but I also don't look at them. So I'll take your word for it that there are some people out there using them. Are there enough? And can the few people that use them cause the others to start using them because they say, hey, we're organizing an event? Or does it end up with like, well, I never saw your event because you put it in stories. Why didn't you just put it in the group or on your newsfeed?
Well, and the event feature on Facebook is weird anyway. I mean, how many notifications have you gotten recently where it's like, so-and-so, who's your friend on Facebook, is interested in an event near you on Saturday? And you're like, what? I wasn't even in there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it sounds like Facebook trying to push the stories feature in a way that probably is going to be pretty helpful to a small amount of people, maybe not the greater Facebook population.
Samsung says it will launch a new line of its M series phones in India January 28th and roll them out globally afterwards. The M series is its like mid-range, cheap mid-range. It's not the cheapest line. They're actually phasing out their cheapest line. 3 models will come out ranging from 10,000 rupees, which is around $141 US, to 20,000 rupees, so $282 US. So these are affordable phones. Samsung's partnering with Amazon on sales in India. And this is their effort to try to outcompete Xiaomi, which leads manufacturing or sales in India. And Samsung is number 2, trying to fend off advancements from Vivo and Micromax and Oppo, among others. I I was all into this story. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what Samsung needs to do. They have a position that Apple doesn't in India. One of Apple's biggest problems is not having any sales in India. They're starting from not scratch, but starting from a very low number, where Samsung's trying to preserve it. So coming out in India first with a good line of new M series phones is great. But then partnering with Amazon, I mean, I guess Amazon has got a better presence than it did a couple of years ago, but that seems limiting to me.
Well, for anybody who's like, what does that mean, partnering with Amazon? Are we going to see an Amazon button anytime you're supposed to, pay for something with this phone?
Well, I'm assuming it means that if you want the phone and you click, it'll take you to Amazon to buy it. Amazon will probably promote it.
I see.
When you're searching for phones and things like
So
that.
it's not in-app purchases.
Is it not going to be in Flipkart, though? Is it not going to be available in the other big marketplaces in India? That would be a mistake.
Well, I have to say, considering the fact that we just recently reported on Apple iPhone sales being a little lackluster in India, as far as Apple is concerned, these prices are pretty good. And yeah, like you mentioned, Tom, this is not even Samsung's most, lowest end feature phone. It's much more affordable, of course, but yeah, the Amazon on sales thing is interesting.
Samsung's got to do this, though. It's the only the Amazon part is the only thing that's interesting. But maybe it's not exclusive. It would be silly if it was exclusive.
Sure.
But if they want the boost in sales, I feel like they'd go with something else. But hey, they're number 2, right? They just need to maintain number 2. Don't let it fall anymore.
We're number 2. The Google News Initiative has partnered with Automatic, the makers of WordPress, to create a, quote, fast, secure, low-cost publishing system tailor-made to the needs of small newsrooms. Oh, as somebody who used to work at a small newsroom, this is music to my ears. It's called Newspack, and the news publishing platform could include website design, a CMS, that's content management system, and commerce options as well, with support for existing WordPress plugins, with operating fees between $1,000 per month and $2,000 per month after launch. So again, these are smaller newsrooms, whether they be physical or online. Funders include Google, the Lenfest Institute for Journalism, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, and Civil Media, along with Google. Early signups for Newspack are open now, and a beta version is expected by July.
So yeah, Google's given more than half of the money, and those other institutions are giving the rest. Automatic is building it, and I can already hear some of the objections of like $1,000 to $2,000 per month for a blog. Well, this is not WordPress. This is a content management system. And I have a lot of questions too about what you're getting for $1,000 to $2,000.
Sure.
But the promise that they're making in the stuff that I have read about this is you can focus on writing your news, covering your news, and this Newspack will take care of all of the back end stuff so you don't have to. This is chump change for something like the New York Times or the Washington Post, right? They need much more advanced stuff and they pay more for it.
Well, and the Washington Post and the New York Times are not the focus of this. This is the idea that smaller market newsrooms that maybe focus on the LA area where we're all talking about rain, but it doesn't apply to the rest of the world, are dying.
Sacramento, maybe something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. These are smaller markets, right? And they need to be able to focus on what they're good at. I think this is a great thing. A lot of the stories I read about this pitched it as saving journalism. This is not going to save journalism. No. One of the big problems with journalism right now is that everybody is suddenly competing with everyone. And I know I've mentioned this before, so any of you who've heard me go on about this, please, my apologies. But we went from every market like Sacramento, Los Angeles, Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati, they all had their own set of competitors, right? And even those competitors weren't always competing directly. The newspaper didn't have video. The television stations didn't have print, so there were niches even within these markets. Then suddenly the internet comes along and says, now the newspaper has video, the TV has print. Everybody in the market is now competing with each other on every platform, and there are no more regions. Everybody can read everything. So your local coverage may distinguish you, but on national news, you're competing with USA Today and the New York Times and the BBC and RT and China Daily. And so it's going to take even longer for us to figure out how to make that all work. In the meantime, Local news is the one taking a beating here, and I think this kind of situation that Google is funding can help with that, with those lower markets, the smaller markets like we're talking
It
about.
also makes me wonder because, again, I am not world's WordPress expert by any means, but I know that it just takes one person to understand the platform to be able to accomplish what this seems to be doing here with Newspack. So, okay, I guess we don't have enough folks that are well versed in CMS systems working for local news stations.
Correct. Well, correct. Right. You don't want to have to pay somebody in some markets. You don't have the money to pay somebody to pay a lot of people to do that, to build the pieces, to do the design, to constantly be adding features, especially even in WordPress where it's plugins. It takes some doing to find the right plugins and make sure they work right and all of that. So, if this is going to help take that off your plate for $1,000 to $2,000 a month, that might be worth it. I'm interested if there's anybody out there, either in web design in a media organization or an editorial, who's looked at this and said, yes, this is why I want it. Email us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. A team at the University of California, San Diego has bioprinted a section of spinal cord that can be custom fit into a patient. The procedure started by printing implants made of soft gel and then using a printer to fill them with neural stem cells. And the reason you print the stem cells in there is you want to arrange them in a way that you get the right mix of tissues growing. The implants were then placed in a rat's spinal cord and formed new connections to bridge a gap in the spinal cord and connect to the circulatory system. Precision 3D printing at 1 micron scale, usually bioprinting is like 200 microns, so this is an advance in and of itself, was used to make sure that the implant fit accurately into the wound, and partial movement was restored to the rat's hind quarters. Research was published in the journal Nature Medicine.
It's interesting. When Tom and Roger and I were at CES last week, we ran into a former colleague of ours who is in the 3D printing business. And he said, it's funny, 3D printing is kind of moving away from CES. It's just not that cool area that people thought was going to change their lives. But when you hear a story like this, you realize how important and amazing this actually is.
Well, and that fits with what he was telling us because it's not a 3D printer on every desk, right? This is a 3D printer in the lab. And that is where it has gone. It has become an enterprise thing. It has become something that is important in certain businesses and in research. And this is an example of that. And man, if you can make this work for humans, which is, I'm not saying they can't, right? I mean, rats are close, but they aren't humans. If you can make this work with a more, complex system like a human being, suddenly you're printing people new spinal cords and they can walk again. That's crazy.
I mean, that's no 3D, like there's nothing that could be better for a 3D printing machine than to be able to restore capabilities like that.
I mean, the promise,
even if it was just in rats,
the promise of me being able to print a new part for my dishwasher kind of pales in comparison.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's where, there was this sort of flurry of like, 3D printing, we're going to be able to just, we're going to be do all our own things. We'll never have to have somebody come by and fix our dishwasher again. Yeah. Okay, well, that's not really something that people need all that often. But when it comes to the medical field, it is the potential here is so life-changing for people that I hope it works.
Now we go from one life-changing story to another.
We sure do, Tom. A stock photo of an egg has dethroned Kylie Jenner's birth announcement as the most liked Instagram post ever in the history of Instagram. The New York Times pointed out, and I thought this was kind of interesting, that the egg's likes have now passed the population of Australia. That's a whole continent, which was over 30 million as of Monday morning when I last checked it. The account called world_record_egg was posted January 4th with the caption, "Let's set a world record together to get the most liked post on Instagram." BuzzFeed, who claims to have interviewed the poster, says that the person was engaging in dry January. Justin Robert Young, are you listening? The egg is referred to as Eugene, if you're curious.
Now, we on our pre-show, we couldn't help, and I don't know if it's on Good Day Internet, I think it was before that, we couldn't help but speculate, like, why did this take off? And my feeling is that there is no why. This is absolute
No.
random.
Mhm.
There have been plenty of other Instagram posts from people saying, I want this to be the most liked post ever. And they didn't take off. This one did. Who knows why? It was a series of events that just happened to keep that beach ball in the air long enough for Jimmy Fallon and Ellen DeGeneres to then decide to talk about it on their shows. And once you get celebrities involved like that, then it becomes, then, that's its Permian explosion, right? That's when it suddenly just starts to self-propagate and takes off and keeps going. And people think, oh, well, this is silly. I'll join in and do it too. How it got to that point, though, no way of knowing. This person was just bored on a Friday because they're not drinking in January, and said, I'm going to do this for kicks.
Right.
How many hundreds of thousands of other stories exactly like that exist in the history of Instagram is
Probably
unknown.
very many.
We focus on the fact that this one happened, and we think if we kind of ascribe some intentionality to it. But the fact is, this is the one in a million, like probably literally a million times that it was tried, and this one just happened to catch where most of them don't.
It's a photo of an egg. It's purposely
stock
not
photo of an egg.
interesting.
It's not
right?
even an original photo of an egg.
Right. That's why this is why we were talking about this with Rich Stroffolino this morning. It's like, why do certain memes take off?
Right.
You just don't know. The pointlessness of it is why it's so compelling. And the fact that 30 million plus people liked this photo. Sure, it got, it went around it got passed around. So there was some momentum there, but it's just silly internet at its best.
Did you like it?
I did not.
I have not. So
yeah. I'll report on these sorts of stories, but I'm not going to engage, Tom.
Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, you can hear Sarah Lane report on these stories along with Rich Stroffolino and myself each day. 5 minutes keeps you up to date at dailytechheadlines.com. All right. Android Authority has a great article up today going into USB-C. It's kind of roughly based on the idea that there weren't a lot of USB-C based headphones at CES. Lily Katz wrote the story for Android Authority about whether USB-C audio, as in USB-C headphones, might be dying. And could we see the return of the headphone jack? Now, I grant you, that is a fantasy that many of you are going to want to buy into just because you want the headphone jack to continue to be available on your favorite device that got rid of it. It's hard to say whether that's going to happen or not, but I thought we could discuss today how much this really bothers us and where we think it's going. Let's start with, why do companies even want to ditch the headphone jack? It's dead simple. It always works. It's cross-compatible. It's proven technology. It's been around for years. The old tip ring TRRS mini 3.5 millimeter jack is beloved. Well, it reduces the components needed inside the device. That reduces your cost, gives you more room for battery or to spend the money on something else. It slims down possibly if you don't use it for battery. It just makes those devices easier to manufacture and look nice. And Bluetooth LE means that wireless audio is a realistic alternative, especially as the prices for Bluetooth headphones have come down. And so before, if you didn't have a headphone jack, you basically had to give people headphones that had the connector on them to be listened. Now people can buy Bluetooth headphones and enjoy them and sometimes prefer them. So there are a couple of key advantages there. So why USB-C? Well, the port's already there for charging and can handle audio as the DAC and the amp move out into the headphones or adapter. That's one of the things that saves you space. So you've already got this port. You can just reuse it. You don't have to add anything more to it. And it lets the manufacturer include headphones without having to include more expensive Bluetooth headphones. You can still include some earbuds. They're just USB-C. And digital audio, arguably, and this is arguably, you can argue against this too, but some people are like, oh, this is going to be better sound. You're going to get better sound out of this. Some people will not agree with that. Here's why everybody's mad, though. USB-C headphones are more expensive, usually, because they have that DAC and amp in them. Although USB can support analog audio, however, with power concerns involved, analog audio might not sound as good as analog audio from a headphone jack. Anyway, the fact that you can support analog audio or not support analog audio does mean you've got cable confusion. And boy, is there lots of USB-C cable confusion without even involving headphones. Active or passive USB-C cables do different things. For instance, you get your USB-C headphones from a OnePlus phone. They don't work on the Pixel 3 XL. And people say, well, this is not a replacement for the headphone jack, where every one of my headphones worked in every headphone jack out there. Plus, the sound quality of USB-C.
That's an argument. Yeah.
Sound quality just doesn't measure up to Bluetooth or analog generally for USB-C. So there we go, Sarah. There are the arguments. What do you think?
Well, it's funny. When USB-C entered my life and everyone said, oh, I can't believe they got rid of the headphone jack. This is crazy. I was like, I don't know. Apple gave me a little converter. Works fine. As long as you don't lose it. Doesn't really change my life all that much. I did not feel the outrage that many people felt. However, I have a really good friend. She works in our business. She does a lot of phone call stuff. And her thing is like, I cannot charge my phone and also use my headphone jack at the same time. Now, of course, you'd say, maybe you have some Bluetooth options, wireless options. Don't worry about it. She's like, I've tried them all. They suck. There's so many third-party Bluetooth headphone options that just are not up to snuff. You know, I don't know, they break or they're janky or whatever. So I understand that argument as well. I don't know. I feel like the industry sort of goes in the direction it's going to go in. Something like this, if it doesn't catch on to the point that there are now articles being written about, we didn't see a lot of USB-C stuff at CES, which tends to indicate trends, right, in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Okay. Does that mean that people are, I don't know, railing against the technology? I don't know. I'd love to see a headphone jack just because I have so many headphones that do need a converter. But again, the converters work perfectly fine. There may be an audio hit. I'm not hearing that. Again, most of the time I'm not listening to rich, beautiful audio in that way. I'd prefer to use my speakers at home. So I might not be exactly the right person to ask for this, but I don't know, Tom. I mean, is this something that is changing your life one way or another?
Yeah, for me, it was when decent Bluetooth headphones, and in particular the AirPods, although you don't have to get the ones from Apple now. In fact, The Verge has a review of some TCL $15 Bluetooth earphones that they say sound fantastic. So you can get some pretty good Bluetooth headphones for cheap. And I would say to your friend, I bet the Bluetooth headphones that you could try today are already better than the ones you tried the last time you tried them. Like it's
probably, yeah.
We saw a lot of Bluetooth headphones at CES, even though we didn't see a lot of USB-C. So I think the switch to Bluetooth has made it so I would rather use wireless headphones when I answer a phone than plug something in. It's just faster and easier. Mm-hmm. And I don't get the headphone tangled or anything. So I prefer that. And now I don't miss the headphone jack most of the time, except when I'm doing this. When I'm doing podcasting and I want to pull sound out of something, I'm like, there's no headphone jack. That compatibility becomes a problem. But for most of my daily life, it's not a problem anymore because of Bluetooth. And I think that's probably where this is going, where Bluetooth headphones will become more common for people on the devices that don't have the jack, and USB-C will be the janky included headphones that you have to use until you get Bluetooth headphones, or if you're in between your Bluetooth headphones, because it was free and it came there. But I don't think that will become a category that people seek.
I think at this point, what would the messaging be for a company that keeps USB-C? Right? We know nobody likes it, but we still have it. They're not going to say that. I mean, you have to
USB-C port anyway, right? Or a Lightning port in Apple's case. Why would you stop supporting it? Like that would be even more ridiculous. So you just leave it there, I think.
Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. Sometimes we talk about USB-C stories. Sometimes we talk about other things. You can submit your own stories that we should talk about on either of our shows, either Daily Tech News Show or at Daily Tech Headlines. And you can vote on others at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show. All right, let's move on to the thing of the day. We missed Chris Christensen, the amateur traveler, but he's back with news about airlines testing blockchain tech in ticketing.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. I'm a little bit of a blockchain skeptic, but apparently United Airlines isn't. They've just done an experiment with blockchain with a company called ARC, testing the use of blockchain to potentially provide a, quote, a secure, distributed, and immutable transaction record that will improve their business process over that exist today. Their claim is that this should simplify the booking process for corporate travelers and improve receipt collection for expense reports. One of the reasons I'm skeptical as somebody who's been known to fly over 100,000 miles a year is I'm not sure that that's a problem, but we shall see. I'm Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
I'm going to guess that it's more about saving United some dollars on the back end than it is about helping you out, Chris. That if they do end up implementing this, that might be why. All right, let's check out the mailbag.
We got an email from Mike in what he calls dusty Saudi Arabia. Mike says, let me just express my disappointment in Google's announcement that it's ending production of Chromecast audio. I love being able to add Chromecast capabilities to my existing speakers and reconfigure them as I want. I move a lot and I end up in a range of weird home designs and having my own speakers rather than a crappy Google Home mini speaker, an expensive full-size Google Home. I hope they change their mind or add an aux jack to the mini.
Yeah, again, I think this is one of those where Chromecast audio was kind of a middle step, and the vision is more people are just going to buy connected speakers, or buy something like a Sonos that will turn their existing speakers into connected speakers. And Google realized it's just not selling enough of those Chromecast audios to keep them around. And Mike acknowledged this, but in case you're confused out there, Google is not stopping support. So if you own a Chromecast audio, you'll still get to use it. They're just not selling new ones anymore. They're not making it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you folks for supporting us for 5 years or more. And as a way of saying thank you, we're doing a few things at the higher tiers. We're going to do all kinds of cool stuff, so don't worry about that. But people who stay with Patreon at our top tiers for 3 months starting January 2nd will get merch with Len's 5-year anniversary art on it. Advisors get a poster, master level folks get a mug, and if you're at the analyst or advisor level, we're going to send you some stickers as well, although we're kind of doing that separately outside of the merch thing. I'll explain that in Good Day Internet if you want to know more about that. But again, if you upgrade to those levels, you could get a mug at the master level or a poster at the advisor level, and co-executive producer and analysts are the ones who will also get a sticker. It's all available for you to read about at patreon.com/DTNS/merch.
If you have feedback for us, our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Keep them coming. We'd love to hear what you have in your mind. We're also live Monday through Friday. If you can join us, please do 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC, and find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yeah, so it ended up with, this is an alpha program, this merchandise thing, and it ended up that it was going to be too expensive to do the stickers through the Patreon merch, and this is helping them to figure it out. This is, I went in eyes wide open that this was an alpha. So we're going to send the stickers from the dailytechnewsshow.com/store to anybody at the co-executive producer or analyst level this month. So we said we'd get you stickers. You'll still get stickers. It just won't be part of this alpha program, but we're leaving the posters and the mug there to try that out. So that's why the change in that. And if you have any questions, just feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. I'll do my best to answer them. What should we possibly call this?
Let's just take a look-see.
It's showbot.chatroom.net if you're listening or watching live.
The egg that cracked Instagram.
Print me a spine. Not even an original egg.
I like the spine stuff, actually.
Print me a spine is pretty good. Yeah.
Print me a spine is good. I mean, and please do.
My life
I'll
on the USB-C list.
Oh,
Once you go no headphone jack, you don't go back. Or do you?
you sometimes do.
Sometimes you might.
FOMO.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth personally. Yeah, Print Me a Spine.
That's my. I went ahead and voted for Print Me a Spine. That's good.
Good.
The egg that crack Instagram is funny, but there have been a lot of egg jokes made at this point in the day.
I'll be honest. If we were really doing this right, the egg that cracked Instagram is probably going to get more attention. But I will sleep better at night knowing that I promoted a advancement that will help people walk again.
Let's stay true to our science roots and print us all some spines.
Let's stay true to our blonde roots.
Yeah, or I think you're speaking for yourself, Tom.
Speaking for myself, yeah.
Actually, no, if you're talking about when I was younger, my roots were definitely blonde. These days, they're paid for.
My roots are not as blonde as they used to be. They've gotten a little darker over the years.
Yeah. It's weird. Sometimes you look at a photo of, me as a 2-year-old, people go, "Whoa, you're such a towhead." I'm like, I mean, that's what happens to most blonde kids.
Me too.
You just sort of turn into sort of a dirty blonde and then a light brown.
Bright blonde as a kid. And honestly, my dad was too, according to my grandma. The pictures were all black and white back then, so we have no proof. But my dad, by the time he was my age, his hair was black. It was not even blonde. It was dark brown.
Yeah. You and I probably have the same thing. My parents were both, dark brunette people.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they had a blonde kid with freckles never made any sense to anybody.
My mom had blonde hair, so
I've been told I'm legitimate.
There was at least some evidence.
Yeah.
Although it was my nose, my sister and I have the same nose, and nobody in our family has it.
Interesting. Yeah. A cousin of mine and I have similar noses, and no one else has that nose.
But
we're like,
Roger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We came from the same family.
Oh, cool.
The output.wave is uploaded.
I was about to say, when my oldest daughter was born, her eyes were blue.
I think that's pretty common with babies.
Most babies
right?
born with blue eyes,
or blue or gray, and then they kind of change.
I thought that was the thing.
Not for I didn't know, for a half Asian kid.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
I thought all babies were
no. Oh no, I was born with dark eyes.
I actually was too. When I was born, I had black hair and dark eyes. I looked completely different than I do now.
I had wings. And
I also had wings, and I was a dragon.
Okay. Not all babies have blue eyes. A baby is more likely to be born with blue eyes and then have them change.
Yeah.
But many babies, especially African, Asian, and Hispanic descent, are more likely to be born with brown eyes. Although even then, they can be born with blue eyes.
You see a lot of newborn photos where people go, "Ooh," and look at those eyes, and you're like, they're gonna change.
You're don't look at them.
They usually do, not all the time, but most of the time they do.
Yeah.
So, is it still uploading?
No, that's why I told you it's all done.
Oh no, the reason I asked is because there's two with the exact same number, 2 and 5 minutes ago.
Well, no, one is the regular, and the other is the output. The output is the levelated one. That's the only one you should ever use.
Okay. Just check.
We didn't change that, did we?
Well, before you just gave me a wave. You didn't give it. Didn't.
Oh, maybe one day I forgot to levelate it for you. Sorry. They're both up now. You don't have to use the levelated one.
If you don't want to levelate,
I mean, if you don't want it leveled, or I guess he could levelate it himself. Yeah, maybe I was not levelating them at the end of the last week because I was tired. I don't claim to ever be consistent.
Well, I put all our headlines into the template this morning after not doing that for 2 years. So,
well, that was funny. Is Sarah slacked me? And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I put all the headlines in the template by accident. And I was like, oh, I can fix that real fast because I've done that a lot.
right.
I've gotten very good at fixing that.
And I've done that before in other spreadsheets where I'm like, oh man, which I actually, what I did in previous sort of rundowns like we use now is I've got the template, and then at the end of all of the cells, I have like a save one just in case, like I'm really desperate, and I bury it so that if you really need it, it's still there. But yeah, I felt stupid this morning because I was like, hold on a second, because I was publishing to the web, like, wait, where's my date? Oh man, I put it in template. Such a rookie move.
But when I went in there, there was also a regular version, so you must have already changed it.
Well, I duplicated it so that it would have the right date to publish. But yeah, my template was still screwed up.
I have to go to the pharmacy and I have to go to the mailbox, and it's raining.
I know. I have to. I don't have to go to a pharmacy or a mailbox, but I do have to walk my dog, who I mean, at this point, Otis, you must be in distress because you haven't done things that you do normally at 8 a.m.
Last time you went out?
We went out before the show, but he didn't go.
When's the last time you went? Sorry.
Yesterday.
Time.
That's poor kid.
What time?
We walked around. We had a huge power outage in my neighborhood. It was bizarre. So we were walking around about 9 p.m. last night.
Oh, he's yeah, okay. That's a long time.
That's a long time. I know. I'm like, thank you for not having an accident, but I know you want to.
Yeah.
But he goes outside and he looks at the rain and he's like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this.
And then you don't want to stay out there and make him because it's raining, and you don't want to be out there either.
I mean, this morning we were soaked, even with his poncho, where I'm like, okay, we're going to go back inside now. You realize that's what's happening. And he was like, want to go? I want to go back inside. He went right back to bed. Poor kid.
Oh, it is. He's like, my bladder can take it. I'm staying in.
He says, I got a big, strong bladder.
I'm a big boy with a big bladder.
The things we do for our pets. My goodness. I don't know if you guys saw my tweet this morning. It was so funny. There was a notification, very vague, from the Photos app on my iPhone. It said, new notification from Photos. I'm like, what? And I look at it, and the Photos app has put together an algorithmic folder based on pictures of my pets called Fluffy Friends 2018. And it's all pictures of Sam, Lucy, and Otis. And it like, it was perfect. It's
Fluffy Friends?
Fluffy Friends 2018, even though a few of the photos are from 2019, but most of them are from last year or even 2017. And I have to say, I looked through it. It was perfect. I wasn't in any of them. It was only my pets. Even though I've taken pictures of other people's pets, whatever. But it gave me a fuzzy, fluffy feeling. Even though Otis is like, I'm not fluffy. That's the cats that are fluffy. I'm just sleek.
Yeah. Sorry,
anyway, so I tweeted it, and a bunch of people said, like, that's weird because Google Photos did the exact same thing, where I got a notification this morning that they the algorithm had compiled all of what it thought was pet photos into a folder and sent me a notification. Are you sure you're not talking about Google Photos? And I'm like, positive. There's collusion happening within the pet community in the mobile apps for Google Photos and Photos on iOS.
It cannot recognize. Oh, wait, no, it has. Sorry, Sawyer was in a picture of Django, but when I click on it, it just opens up pictures of Django. Although one of the pictures is of me and Eileen in the North Korean demilitarized zone.
Did you guys look particularly fluffy?
And one picture is of Sawyer and Ray, not Django. So that's not really working. Probably just dogs. Why? And this picture of me and Eileen in the DMZ is showing up in all of the dog albums that are auto-generated by Google.
I'm not even going to unpack that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, seriously, it's insulting, Google.
Yeah. You ever felt more like an animal?
See, now
Here's this photo
there's
of
a
you.
Sarah Lane folder that is like almost exclusively pictures of you at CES that we took this weekend.
Well, I mean, that I get.
Yeah. And it's all you. There's no other, there's no dogs showing up or me and Eileen showing up in your album. It's just, it accurately has recognized you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They know me. Yeah. It was funny because I was sort of like, what is this notification? And then when I looked at the folder, I was like, I love these photos.
Oh my gosh.
These are my favorite photos.
There's an album created of the guard, the South Korean guard at the DMZ, because Eileen took like 3 pictures of me standing next to him. And
wow.
It recognized him and created an album just for him because he's in those 3 pictures.
You should send those photos to him.
Yeah.
Might
I
be
should try to
nice.
find him.
Yeah, for posterity.
Or his mother, she might appreciate that. Here he is at work.
Absolutely.
Protecting his
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Doing a good job.
Your son is working hard.
Yeah, I don't see any auto-generated pet.
Well, that's funny because I would assume you've got plenty of stuff and you're using an iPhone in your photos. And so many people on Twitter responded and said, "Oh, I got that too. Fluffy friends."
I'm looking at Google and Apple, and neither one of them.
Maybe they don't think Ray and Sawyer are fluffy enough.
Oh, it did create a Las Vegas folder, but that's easy. It just goes by geo.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, fine. Be that way.
Yeah.
Photo apps.
Some real favoritism going on in mobile app world.
Not all babies. It is interesting how it does the facial recognition, though. I want to go back to that.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's okay. So I've got photos.
It's weird too. It's like there are folders that I'm like, this is actually really cool. Like there's a home folder. It's my previous apartment, not the one I live in now. But because once I was in there, I was like, what are all these collections?
So it's got,
and I looked at all the, my old apartment, and it always kind of had this one window in the background, which is obviously something that started drawing from after a while, which is it's not surprising because so many of my cat photos were taken in front of that window because they loved it. But it's like, okay, I probably wouldn't have put this collection together myself, but I'm kind of happy it exists.
So there's a Tom Merritt album, which has pictures of me. There's an Eileen Rivera album, pictures of Eileen. There's a Veronica Belmont. There's a Rodrigo Rivera. That's Eileen's dad. Then there's Sawyer, Django, Ray, June, our niece, Eileen's sister's daughter, you, my nephew Benjamin, Brian Brushwood, Roger Chang, Justin Robert Young, my sister-in-law Kristen. Then it gets weird. Like all of this is normal. Then there's a picture of
people
Eileen
in your life.
Django. And in this album are pictures of Ray, pictures of Eileen and Sawyer, pictures of Django and Sawyer.
So this is where it started to break down. Like we recognize dog,
person and dog,
but not correct dog.
Yeah, and it has separate albums with just the dogs that it's recognizing. Then there's my brother-in-law, my sister, Lilo, my sister-in-law's dog, Patrick Beja, Ellie, Roger's daughter. Then there's another dog one that's just like dogs without their faces. It's my dogs, but without the faces towards the camera. So it's like a dog butt album because it can't see the face, I guess.
It's like, we don't think this is a person or a dog.
Then there's my sister's dog, Seamus. And there's another one of dog butts. There's 2 dog butt albums. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, Shannon, Ayaz, Molly, Ibit. Oh, this is weird. Then there's one album that's just a picture of me in my All Blacks hat from 2006.
What is it called?
It doesn't have a name.
Oh. Just a photo.
Yeah.
Then.
Oh my gosh. Then there's an album of my nephew's friend that was in a bunch of pictures of my nephew from the wedding, and it pulled him out. That's weird.
Yeah, some of these they sort of defy.
My favorite is the South Korean guard, because his avatar picture is amazing, because it kind of cuts him out with just blue behind him. And he looks
His mother needs this.
Yeah, really does.
Find her. Your kid is doing great.
Here, I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see it.
Let's see. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just that's a lovely photo.
Right. All right. Thanks everybody for watching the video. We are going to pop away now to audio land. So audio listeners, stick around. There's more to come.